Hi, I'm Ramanan. In this video, I'm going to talk about reforms that are needed in the education system. It's 21st century, it has been discussion for quite some time that we are in the knowledge era and our education system that was designed to support industrial age should change as per the changing need of the knowledge economy. A seemingly great idea but with a big flaw. Because here we are talking about designing an education system for economy. In contrast, the role of an education system should be to prepare human beings for life, to prepare them for ups and downs, to prepare them for a rewarding and a happy life, and make them a person so that they contribute to the society and nation. So, what should be the human-centric education system? So, essentially, there should be four pillars in an education system. So, the first pillar is good physical health. Can you imagine a good life without good physical health? You may have all the money, name, fame, facilities, but without good physical health, it all means nothing to you. And yet, this part of the education system is either partially covered or completely ignored in many schools. Essentially, a good physical health is a combination of three things. The first is being physically active. For being physically active, we need to involve our kids in doing anything that makes them move their bodies, increases their physical strength and flexibility. We can involve them in sports, dancing, games, martial arts, and many other such activities. Next is yoga. Yoga is not an alternate to physical activity. It's an essential activity that not only prevents but also cures a lot of lifestyle diseases. The next part is eating good food. See, in the consumer-driven world, there are infinite number of food choices, but we seldom make good choices. And our appetite is mostly driven by our taste buds. So it's important that we not only inform, but also teach our kids to make healthy choices. How to do it? There are many ways to do it, and technology can be a big help. We need to make them visualize if they eat good food, what would happen to their bodies? And if they eat bad food, what would be the consequences? Next is understanding your physiology. See, not everyone has the same physiology. Some people can eat a lot of food but still maintain a lean body, and others, they would just eat a regular diet and would put on a lot of weight. Calories in and calories out doesn't work as a linear mechanism in the real world. So we need to explore sciences like Ayurveda that personalizes food and physical activity for the people. So there is a lot to accomplish in this life, but without good physical health, we cannot do anything. So it's important that we allocate at least 20% of the curriculum time to this vertical so that our kids can have a good physical health and are able to achieve whatever they want. The next pillar is good mental health. What differentiates us from other species and determines how successful and happy we are going to be is this small organ sitting at the top of our body, that is brain. And yet we are taught absolutely nothing about how to keep our brain healthy and control our mind. We are never taught how it works and how we can make most out of it. It becomes even more essential in today's world, which is full of distractions. And this is impacting more our kids. Kids are consuming drugs and other harmful substances as they are influenced by social media and movies, which kind of glorifies these bad habits. If you look at the mental state of 21st century kids, we'll find that they have low self-esteem, they lack patience, their focus is on instant gratification. They are suffering from anxiety, stress, peer pressure, and they are frustrated. And all this is leading to eating disorders, extreme anger, depression, and even suicides. So how can we expect a child to do well in life when they are suffering from all these challenges? So what should we do? We need to equip them with tools and knowledge to make most out of their mind and handle problems related to their mind or brain. I have classified these tools into three buckets. The first is tools for optimum utilization of brain power. In this, we can cover topics such as meditation, focus techniques, lateral thinking, critical thinking, thinking fast and slow, innovation mindset, and other such activities or tools. The next is tools for keeping mind in control during difficult times. See, life is not all about sunshine and rainbows. They would face difficult times in their lives and they would require tools to overcome that difficult time. We need to equip them with tools such as music, deep breathing, involving them in activities such as gazing at the sky, taking a walk in the garden, maintaining a thank you book where they would register all their good things in life and their happy moments, so that when they face difficult times, they can refer back to it and they can see how rewarding their life was. The next is making them aware about how brain works and introducing psychology to the curriculum. Why psychology? See, psychology is about understanding human behavior, understanding how the brain works. And if you study the modern psychology and its application in the real world, you'll find that most of the findings are being utilized by companies to sell their products to people. They are using this knowledge, wealth of knowledge, to manipulate people. On contrary, the use of psychology should be to help human beings understand their weaknesses and helping them overcome those weaknesses. We need to allocate at least 5 to 15% of the time to this pillar, starting with 5% and then going all the way to 15% at the middle school, and then going back to 5% for the adults when they have learned most of the tools. These two pillars would ensure that we are not crippling the mental and physical capabilities of the next generation and would ensure that the wheel of human evolution that started millions of years ago continues. The next pillar is personalized and practical way of education. The good part about this pillar is there is a consensus that we need to change our education system. Now, there are different methods of teaching. There are different models of learning, focusing on different aspects of education. I won't go into those details. And I will make this vertical pretty simple. First, I'll talk about what to teach and how to teach. Regarding what to teach, there is a simple rule that first we need to cover 3 R's. That is reading, writing, arithmetic, which forms the basis of the education. And once we have covered that, then we need to explore what all different subjects we should teach. But before we talk about what we should teach, it's important to talk about why we should teach them so many subjects when they are not going to use majority of the content that we will teach them. So there are 2 reasons. The first is every subject that we teach today has some real value associated with that. It helps them make sense of the world and it helps them understand why things are as they are. The second is exposing them with so many subjects helps them assess what is something that they like, and accordingly they would be able to choose their respective fields of profession in their lives. But it would happen only if they are able to connect what they learn with the real life scenarios. That's the reason it's important that we focus more on grasping the concept and less on rote memorization. Now, since kids are in the exploration stage, we should follow a simple rule of thumb. We should teach what would add real value to a student's life. Let's take an example. History can be a very valuable subject for teaching life lessons and for character building. But in India, we would see that focus is on memorizing events and dates. In Indian history, India's independence is a very important chapter. And if there is one thing that a student should learn from this lesson is that Britishers could rule India because of their policy of divide and rule. And yet in India you would see that people still vote for caste, religion and for greed. So that means they have learned almost nothing from this important chapter. Let's take another example. If you're teaching about plants, let them grow their own food and experience whatever we teach. If you are teaching about human body, teach the subject in such a way that they are able to use this information in their real lives. For example, don't teach human organs in one chapter, diseases in another chapter, and health and wellness in another chapter. We need to combine that so that we can create a meaningful information out of it. For example, if you are teaching about human heart, then also talk about the impact of cholesterol on heart, and also how exercise and good food can have a good impact on heart, so that kids can really understand this information and use it in their real lives. Another thing that we need to do is we need to remove unnecessary details from the subjects that would be needed only by a professional, so that we can make time for the new subjects like financial literacy, communication. Let's take an example. We teach about human cell in biology. It's good to teach about what human cell is and how it impacts our health and well-being and what we need to do to keep it healthy. But adding unnecessary details that would be needed only by a professional like ribosomes, mitochondria, that should wait until somebody joins a professional course. We also need to ensure that they understand what they would do when they join a particular profession. So we have made knowledge acquisition boring, which should not be the case, as knowledge helps us understand and make sense of our surroundings. And as a human, we do want to make sense of our surroundings. But things become difficult when we can't understand something and we can't relate it to the real lives. If you think back, you'll find many examples in your life when you found a subject boring and uninteresting. But the moment you started understanding that, you found it really easy and interesting. And that's the case with kids too. If they start understanding things, learning would become super easy and interesting for them. And that is exactly what we want. So if we want to bleed innovation, then we need to ensure that everything we teach is either connected to the real life or is taught through experience or experiments. This would ensure that kids understand what they learn and are able to connect to the real life. You would see that in today's world, kids are loaded with lots of pressure. First, they go to school and then they have to go to tuitions for learning the same thing again. If we teach them properly, they would not be required to go to tuitions. Instead of that, we need to create experience centers, labs, or discussion forums where they can test their knowledge and gain more understanding. Another thing that we need to reevaluate is time pressure during exams. See, when kids are in the exploration stage, we want to give them enough time to think through a solution. Even in real lives, in most of the cases, we want a professional to take as much time as they want and do their job properly. When you're going for a surgery, you won't tell your doctor to finish up the surgery in 15 minutes. You want your doctor to take as much time as possible, but do their job properly. And same is the case with other subjects too. Software engineering, civil engineering, painter, even when you hire a maid, you want them to do their job properly. Then why time pressure on kids? If we are truly testing their ability to think, then we should not have this time pressure. Time pressure is needed when we are not testing their ability to think, but their memory. Let's understand that for every problem, there is more than one solution in this world. And we need to give students time to think through that solution. We want them to find a good solution, not a quick solution. That is something that we want them to be trained in. If a particular examination would require 3 hours, give them 4 hours and see what they would do with that time. Another area we need to work upon is conditions of our teachers. So teaching is a very critical profession and it can make or break a country's future. It has a profound impact on students' success and failure. And yet, teachers do not get the fame, monetary reward, and respect that they deserve. A movie actor who is just an entertainer earns more with just one project than what a teacher would save in his or her entire life. Clearly, we have set our priorities in the wrong side. This needs to change, and only then we would be able to attract the best talent to this profession. The problem is not that we don't have the solution to this problem. The only hurdle is realizing our mistake and start acting on it. Now let's see how it is impacting India. In India, most of the teachers join this profession because it provides flexibility, or this was their last choice, or as a part-time profession. So if that is the state of the mind of a teacher, how they would be interested in teaching? And situation is even worse in government schools. One of my friend was telling me that his sister got a teaching job in a government school, and by bribing some government official, they got her transferred to some school nearby her house. And now she goes there, marks her attendance, and comes back in half an hour. So can you imagine what would be the future of such country? This needs to change. And there are a lot of solutions. The only need is to start acting on it. Next is personalization. The world is now talking about personalized education, as they are realizing that every child is different and has different capabilities and should have a personalized learning path. There are a lot of technologies that are being built to provide assistance in personalization. They can even analyze your learning pattern and provide assistance. But the real personalization meaning is that we should help a child understand his or her natural talent, their inclination towards a particular subject, and then aligning all other subjects accordingly. Let's take an example of Picasso. Picasso was a great painter because of his ability to align science and mathematics around his art. Exams can be a very good tool for personalization, but first we need to understand their relevance. Exams are designed not just to know where a child stands in terms of their knowledge acquisition. It has more relevance for the teachers. It helps the teacher understand how many students could understand a particular subject, and then using the feedback method to refine their teaching methodology. The second thing is, exams should be designed in such a way that a teacher could decipher what a child's natural talent is. If a child who crams the subject and the second one who understands the subject get the same marks, then we are defeating the whole purpose of examination. Another thing that we need to add to our curriculum is localization of education. What does it mean? Every place has its own specialty or offers some unique economic opportunity to its people. Adding a subject that explains these economic opportunities to kids would ensure that they make most out of these opportunities and would ensure that there is strong economic activity around these specialties in that area. Let's take another example. We teach rural and urban students the same set of subjects, and most of the education system is designed keeping urban students in mind. And as a result, you'll find that people staying in rural areas are unable to make most out of their economy. Farmers are struggling to sell their crop at a reasonable price, and they are facing day-to-day challenges. They are unable to get to the right market and get the right price. They are unable to use their raw output and add value to that to sell the product at a higher price. As a result, you will see that rural economy suffers. Therefore, we need to introduce subjects specifically designed for rural areas. We should allocate at least 55 to 60% of the time to this pillar. The fourth and the last pillar is working for the nation. Working for the nation doesn't mean working 70 hours in a corporate world and boosting their profits, as stated by an IT leader in the recent times. Working for the nation means actually working for the nation and helping your nation become a better place and having a good impact on society and people's lives. So why we need to involve kids in working for the nation? There are two reasons for that. The first is, working for the nation not only provides a great opportunity for students to test their knowledge in the real world, but it also provides them with an opportunity to learn skills that are needed in the knowledge economy. Skills such as management, critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, and communication. Now let's talk about the second reason. It's time we should stop outsourcing teaching humanity to God, because it may not work as effectively as it worked 100 years back. It's time we should make it part of our curriculum. See, we have designed an education system that disconnects students from the society and makes them focus on their own needs, wants, and desires. Working for the nation connects them back to the society and makes them believe society's welfare as of their own. And when they become part of the problem solving community, they would stop creating problems in the society, thereby making society a better place to live. See, every society has its own problems. And even in India, you'll find problems everywhere: water pollution, air pollution, adulteration. And these problems are not just impacting poor, they are impacting rich too. You'll find a lot of rich people, celebrities, politicians dying young. See, we need to understand that parents wants to be a hero in their kids' eyes. And if kids become part of the problem solving community, they would ensure that their parents are not making problems in the society. Let's take an example of cleanliness. If parents are throwing garbage on the road, and if kids become part of the problem solving community, they would ensure that the parents don't do it. And if kids become part of the waste management team, they would ensure that their household's waste is managed in a proper way. If kids learn the traffic rules, they would ensure that their parents don't violate those traffic rules. Parents would not listen to anybody, even PM, but they would listen to their kids. Working for the nation should not stop when a student leaves the education system. It should continue forever. Tools can be created to make this happen. And you don't need long hours to work for your nation. Even if you have 5 minutes, you can contribute to the betterment of the society and nation. We should allocate at least 10 to 15% of the time to this pillar. Now you might be thinking that talking about what to do is just the half job done. The real challenge lies in how to do it. So I want to assure you that I have created strategies and designed tools that can make this happen. And I would be happy to share with you all. I also want to highlight that it's a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity waiting to be explored. And it's not just a one country's job to make this happen. Many countries need to come together and work towards this common goal. And only then we would be able to achieve it. See, now this model requires political will. It's good for both kind of politicians, good as well as bad. For good, it leads to betterment of the society, so they would be interested in this model. And for bad, this model would lead to a lot of good economic activity, would create good surroundings, so you don't need to be bothered about people's problems. They would solve their own problems. And also there would be a lot of money to do corruption. So it's good for both kind of politicians. The last thing I would like to say is that we are working tirelessly to make machines smarter. It's time we should invest in humans too. And countries who would invest in making humans smarter and stronger would definitely lead the whole world.